Let's rank these 16 teams remaining in March Madness. Starting at the bottom, we got to go with 11 seed Texas. I think Texas benefited from a really, really easy path. The wheels were falling off with NC State. I think Swain and Pope are better guards than Copeland, and they beat him on a buzzer beater. Then they play a BYU team that is literally AJ DeVance and Prey. Nobody else can really shoot. And Matas had more size over Keita. And then they play the Gonzaga, who again really banged up Gonzaga team. Also with size down low in Graham Ike, but just not as physical, not as tall as Matas. And again, the guard play with Swain and Pope prevailed. However, they've come to the end of the line here against a Purdue team that has better guard play and has better size down low than Texas does. So I think Texas is the worst team still remaining. And then there's a gap. I think Iowa is significantly better than Texas, and Iowa didn't benefit from a really, really good, really easy schedule, really easy path to this point. They had to take on Florida, who looked like one of the hottest teams in the country. And I think Iowa taking down Florida just shows how fraudulent the SEC was, because during the regular season, Florida was rolling through that conference. No problem. Think about it. The SEC tournament champion, Arkansas, lost to Florida in Gainesville by like 20. And Iowa, not even a top 5 team in the Big Ten, just took out the regular season champs in the Florida Gators. The SEC is just a joke. The only reason they have Texas in is because Texas had the easiest path besides probably Illinois as an 11 seed, right? That's the only reason Texas is in. Alabama's in because they played Texas Tech without JT Toppin, and they also just didn't miss from 3. But Alabama's a good team. They're not quite as bad as Texas. Tennessee at 14. I think the 14th best team remaining. I think Tennessee does have some really high upside. I think Jacoby Gillespie is getting completely overlooked. Like, he's not averaging 25 and 7 in this tournament. Boswell, their other guard, has been huge. Felix Akpara and Estrella, they're 2 big men down low. They lead the country in offensive rebounding percentage. They're really elite on the offensive glass. They get so many second chance opportunities. And Tennessee has been able to get to the Sweet 16. They beat a really solid UVA team without Nate Ament really finding his stride yet, without Nate Ament really being a presence offensively. And even against UVA, he looked like a deer in headlights at times, especially down the stretch. He almost had that turnover with a minute left, which was a ridiculous Rick Barnes timeout. He's still, late in games, has been very questionable with some of the timeouts he's made and some of the plays he's dropped. Like, he calls timeouts and they turn the ball over on the inbound on the play that Rick Barnes called a timeout to drop. Like, he's got to lock in a little bit if they want to go on a run, if they want to beat a really suffocating Iowa State team. We'll get into that later. But I have Tennessee at 14. 13, I have Alabama. Alabama's the most volatile team in this tournament. If they're not missing, they can go on a deep run. If they're not missing, they can literally win the whole tournament. The problem is, though, I don't think they're going to not miss the rest of the way. The reason they were able to get so hot early against Texas Tech is because they were dominating the offensive glass, especially early in that game. And they had like 10 rebounds, it seemed like, in the first 10 minutes of that game. And when you get so many chances offensively with a team that leads the country in 3-point rate, and you also have a starting 5 of everybody that can shoot the ball, and they're all getting touches because you're constantly getting second chance opportunities, the shots are going to start to fall. And if an Alabama team gets hot early, then they're not going to lose. They're not just going to start missing again, right? And they were also turning over Texas Tech a shitload, and that's just the worst recipe. That's just a recipe for disaster against Alabama. If you're giving them extra offensive possessions, the 2 ways you can't be giving them extra offensive possessions is that you're not defensive rebounding, you're not closing out defensive defense, you're not crashing the defensive glass, and then you're turning the ball over. Extra offensive possessions, more touches for these shooters, more opportunities for these shooters to see the ball go in the basket. That's going to lead to 19 threes made and an absolute rout of Texas Tech. So I have Alabama at 13, but they can get as hot as anybody in the tournament. I have Nebraska at 12. This might be a little bit low. I might be a little bit lower on the Big Ten. I do have 2 Big East schools over 2 Big Ten schools here. I have Nebraska at 12, Illinois at 11, Iowa State at 10. That is if Jefferson is out. So keep that in mind. We'll come back to that, though. But Nebraska at 12, they have been shooting the 3 ball incredibly well. Incredibly well. They're like 40-something% from 3 in this tournament. Samford has been a dog. Hoiberg's one of the best floor generals in this tournament. Their big men down low have been eating timely offensive rebounds, timely on the glass. They've been good on the interior as well. Kind of got luck. The Zebras helped them out a little bit against Vanderbilt. You can't deny that. Their defensive guard play, not very good. Tyler Tanner was giving them, he was getting anything he wanted anything he wanted on that Nebraska defense. That does worry me with Bennett Sturts coming to town. Nebraska and Iowa, they did split the season series, but either way, I have Nebraska at 12. I have Illinois at 11. Illinois beats up on two mid majors, and all of a sudden we're forgetting how bad they were at the end of their Big Ten schedule. Like the offense regressed at the end of the Big Ten schedule. Now, was part of that these Big Ten teams were starting to play them a second time? They got more familiar, and then going into March, Illinois sees or defenses are seeing Illinois' offense for the first time, and it's much harder to stop. That could absolutely be the case. But I'm not going to praise Illinois now because they beat up on two mid majors and they stunk at the end of their Big Ten schedule and they didn't win a game in the Big Ten tournament. So I'm still fading Illinois a little bit, but their offense, when it's fully clicking, is just unbelievable. They won't miss. They all share the rock. They could be a real problem deeper in this tournament. I have Illinois at 11, Iowa State at 10, but that is if Jefferson gets hurt. If Jefferson is playing in this game, Iowa State would be the sixth best team in the country. But without Jefferson, my logic was I have UConn at 9, St. John's at 8, Michigan State at 7. My logic was, would Iowa State, Iowa is 15. Sorry, I'm also live on TikTok if you're watching on YouTube or reading the chat. So, or if you're listening on Spotify, I was answering the chat. So Iowa State against UConn, St. John's, or Michigan State without Jefferson, I think they lose that game. Jefferson's their leading rebounder. He's their offensive presence down low. UConn, St. John's, Michigan State, all real physical. They all have good bigs. In Etchafor, oh my gosh, Terrace Reed, Jackson Kohler, etc. Iowa State would need Joshua Jefferson in those matchups. They would need those matchups. They would need Joshua Jefferson in those matchups. However, if they had Joshua Jefferson, I think they would beat those teams comfortably. So that's the real thing with Iowa State. What is Jefferson's injury status? And college basketball, they don't like to give us any type of, they don't like to give us updates. We didn't know if Tyler Bilodeau was good to go until literally 2 minutes before tip-off, right? So I have Iowa State at 10 if Jefferson is out. UConn at 9, St. John's at 8. St. John's the most overrated team in the country. I think they beat nobody in the out-of-conference. They only started to find their chemistry in conference play. They beat a Kansas team where they're not that good. Like Kansas, if you watch Kansas all season, you knew their offense had problems. You knew they were a really good defensive team, and that showed. They were able to maintain Zuby Etchafor, who was less than 50% from the field. St. John's needed a miracle, once-in-a-lifetime shooting night from Bryce Hopkins to beat Kansas, who isn't that good to begin with, on a buzzer beater. UConn also, solo ball, where is he? Does solo ball still play for this team? Does solo ball still play for UConn? I'm looking for solo ball. Where is he at? Braylon Mullins hit a couple of clutch shots against UCLA, but he's been really inconsistent. It helps getting Silas back, but they needed a career high from a 4-year starter, and Alex Caravan, to beat an injured Tyler Bilodeau, or injured UCLA team with Tyler Bilodeau. Make that make sense for a second. I have Michigan State at 7 ahead of both these Big East teams. There's a gap there, for sure, a gap there. You could throw Illinois over them. You could throw Iowa State without Jefferson over the Big East teams. I wouldn't be mad at you. I'm just giving them a little bit of respect, a little bit, not too much. It's the Big East for a reason. I have Arkansas at 6. A lot of people that just tune in Arkansas, they think it's just Darius Acuff show. That's not the case at all. Malik Thomas has been hooping for them now. He has been a dog. They have a 3-year starter, senior in Brazil down low, 6'10". He's shooting 35% from 3. Billy Richmond, one of the best defensive guards in the country. DJ Wagner, experienced guard as well. They're deep. They can go 6-7 guys deep. They have size down low with Brazil. They have a defensive interior presence. It's just Darius Acuff is a traffic cone defensively. But I think they have enough fire. They're hot right now. They won the SEC tournament, and Darius Acuff can carry this team. It's a tough draw with Arizona, but I do think they are one of the hottest, most complete offensive teams in the country right now. They shoot their top 10 in three-point percentage. Arkansas is just disgusting right now. So I have them at 6. Purdue at 5. Listen, I understand Purdue had their struggles in the middle, had their struggles in Big Ten conference play. They lost a few home games. The Big Ten conference was a gauntlet a little bit this year, not better than the Big 12, but it was a gauntlet. Purdue's playing some of the best basketball we've seen them play all year. They beat a Miami team that I think is really, really solid, and they beat them with Braden Smith having 8 turnovers and shutting down his leg. So I'm not counting this Purdue team out. I'm not counting this Purdue team out whatsoever. Not even a little bit. Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Trey Kaufman-Renn have played in a national championship. They played in Final Fours. You can't you can't underestimate how awesome or how important continuity and experience in the big moment is. And Purdue's got more than that than anybody remaining in the field besides maybe Houston. And we'll get into them a little bit later. So I have Purdue at 5. And I think Purdue, we'll get into their matchup against Texas as well, but I think it's a good matchup for them. Houston at 4. I mean, I just think Milos Uzan, Emmanuel Sharp, Kingston Flemings, Tugler, one of the most underrated defenders in the country. And if Chris Sinak can heat up a little bit offensively, look out for Houston, man. I think they're the 4th best team remaining in this tournament. And then we get to the top 3. Duke at 3, Michigan at 2, Arizona at 1. I think Michigan Duke are flip-floppable. I put Michigan over Duke because Duke did have a little bit of a scare against TCU in the first half and a really big scare against Siena. I think I trust Cadeau right now more than Caden Boozer, but Caden Boozer has not been the problem with Duke. He's playing his way into that, okay, I can rely on this guy. He's starting to play some really good basketball going back to the ACC tournament. Caden Boozer is that guy. I just like Michigan down low with Yaxel, with Mara. They got more size than Duke, but you can flip-flop those two. I think without a debate, without an argument right now, Arizona is the best team in the country. I think it's Arizona's tournament to lose. They have the best backcourt, two-way backcourt, in my opinion. See, them or Houston, I lean Arizona with Jaden Bradley, who's got a little bit of Walter Nolan in him. They have Braden Burry's one of the best freshman guards in the country. Then Koa Pete, Krivas, Delorso off the bench. They got guys, bro. Arizona is deep. They can shoot the 3 efficiently. They don't take a lot of them, but they shoot the 3 efficiently. They got great size down low. They have great guard play. They have the clutch guy in Jaden Bradley, who just always seems to make a clutch bucket when they need a clutch bucket. I love Arizona. They're my natty pick for a reason. I think they're the best team in the country. I think they got snubbed from the number 1 overall seed. And they have the 2 best losses. Like Michigan and Duke both have, I would argue, worse losses than Arizona, even though Arizona and Duke have a same loss, and that is a healthy JT Toppin Texas Tech team. But I mean, I guess Duke did lose that on a neutral site. Arizona did lose that at home, but Duke also lost to North Carolina. Arizona's other loss was Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse. Like, I think Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse is a better loss than North Carolina in Chapel Hill. That being said, Arizona is the best team in the country right now. I think they should coast, but they got the toughest matchup. They got the toughest draw. They got to go through Arkansas and Purdue, whereas Duke has to go through St. John's, which we already talked about, overrated. And then Michigan State or UConn is not going to be easy, but I'd rather play one of those teams than Purdue right now. And then who would Michigan have? Michigan has Alabama. That's cake. And then they would have, am I blanking here? They would have Tennessee or Iowa State. So Iowa State's a tough out for anybody in the country, especially with Jefferson. But yeah, that's my top 16 teams remaining. If you made it this far in the video, like and subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys later.